Coming up today, we're at the halfway point of the 5-day Chuseok holiday. Traffic is building on expressways in and out of Seoul as people look to make the most of the holiday. South Korea and Japan stress the need to bring the hammer down on North Korea for its recent nuclear missile provocations. China says it's open to UN sanctions but warns against unilateral measures. First, as the race for the White House heats up, Donald Trump takes a jab at Hillary Clinton's stamina at a rally in Ohio. Clinton is back on the campaign trail after collapsing last weekend. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, September 16th here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start with a look at the roads on this third day of the Chuseok holiday here in Korea. Following the actual Chuseok day on Thursday, millions of people will be on the road again on this Friday, with the volume of traffic expected to build from 9 a.m. this morning. The Korea Expressway Corporation forecasts more than 4.6 million vehicles will be on the move on Friday alone, with most coming back into Seoul after Koreans spent the last couple of days in their hometowns with their families. Expressways heading into the capital will see bumper-to-bumper traffic pretty much like that for most of the day and night. It's expected to ease from the wee hours of Saturday. The good news is that traffic heading south out of the capital will be relatively smooth compared to the past couple of days. Around 3/4 of Korea's entire population has been or will be on the move over the Chuseok break, which ends on Sunday. Now, Chuseok is the time for Korean families to get together in their hometowns for traditional rituals, to catch up and enjoy some nice food. As for multicultural families new to the holiday, introductory courses were held. Our Kim Jung-soo joined them for Chuseok 101.
For the holiday season, the Manners Education Center, run by the city of Yongin just south of Seoul, prepared a special event in collaboration with its Multicultural Family Support Center. Over 20 people from a variety of nations, including Vietnam, the Philippines, and Indonesia, accepted the invitation for one main reason. They want to better understand Korean culture and customs. Right now, a group of people from Multicultural Families has gathered here to learn how to make songpyeon, a traditional Korean food usually eaten during the Chuseok holiday. The students first make the dough using rice powder. Next comes the filling. Mung beans are first skinned and then put into a pot and simmered for 30 minutes. As the final step, the students put the filling into little pieces of dough that have been shaped into cups, and the cups are steamed for about 25 minutes under a blanket of pine needles. Having tasted their handmade songpyeon, the new chefs were eager to try making even more at home.
I can't wait to make more songpyeon for my friends and family.
I'm sure next time I will tell to my friends that we made some traditional duck, so I'm sure that they will really love it too.
After tasting the holiday sweets, the students donned traditional Korean attire, or hanbok, and participated in a ceremony called chare, in which Koreans honor their ancestors. Meanwhile, the center's director made sure that the participants made the most out of the learning experience.
The number of multicultural families in Korea continues to grow, but it's not easy for them to get hands-on experience in learning about Korea's rich culture and heritage. So that's why we decided to hold this event.
According to the Ministry of Justice, the number of foreigners living in Korea broke the 2 million mark just a few months ago. And as of last year, there were more than 200 centers all over the country helping out multicultural families. Based on the success of today's event, you might say these families are learning the beauty of their adopted home, one songpyeon at a time. Kim Jung-soo, Arirang News.
Now, for some Korean soldiers deployed overseas, duty to their country kept them away from home this Chuseok. But according to our Devon Whiting, they still found ways to share some holiday cheer.
Tensions run high at this unit in Lebanon, where Korean soldiers are helping fight terrorism. But for Chuseok, they had a chance to relieve some stress, with holiday delicacies from back home and some traditional games.
My fellow soldiers and I in the Dongmyeong unit are proud to represent Korea and work for peace and happiness in Lebanon.
For these sailors fighting pirates off the coast of Somalia, it's a similar scene. They've taken a little time to play Korean folk games like the board game Yunori and Jegichagi, similar to hacky sack. Soldiers in South Sudan doing reconstruction work spend their time with locals, playing tug of war and listening to traditional music.
We shall return safely after completing our duties, and we will bring back with us the passion we gained in South Sudan.
Soldiers here supporting special warfare operations in the United Arab Emirates take part in ancestral rites and play traditional games as a way to boost camaraderie. Though they can't make it home this Chuseok, the troops do what they can to enjoy the holiday and vow to fulfill their duties. Devin Whiting, Arirang News.
During this year's 5-day Chuseok holiday, around 1 million people are expected to use Korea's main gateway, Incheon International Airport. But what do these tourists coming in and going out of the country mostly spend their money on? Lee Ji-won finds out.
For many Koreans, this year's Chuseok holiday means a 5-day weekend. Between the 13th and the 18th of this month, nearly 1 million people are expected to use Korea's main gateway, Incheon International Airport. With more Koreans using the opportunity to travel, how do they spend their money when they're abroad?
We're going to Osaka, and our trip is mainly based around eating.
This trip is for my daughter-in-law to get some quality rest. So we'll head to the hot springs and other places that my daughter arranged for us.
Korean tourists used to take mainly package tours built around shopping and tourist attractions. But now, with access to more information online and with more experience traveling, people's spending patterns abroad have changed.
These days, people choose to spend their trips enjoying their hobbies or simply relaxing. Things like scuba diving, hitting the spa, or trying new foods.
What about foreign tourists visiting Korea? How do they like to spend their money?
We like Korean food, so we are here mostly for Korean food. We are looking forward to see it.
We came to buy Korean cosmetics, clothes, and we also want to have Korean food.
Last year, nearly 70% of foreign tourists had come to Korea for the shopping. And the steady stream of visitors continue through Chuseok, with cosmetics at the top of their list.
Shopping, especially for cosmetics and perfume, is still Korea's biggest draw for tourists in terms of spending. And this is mainly due to high demand and interest among Chinese tourists, who account for more than 50% of visitors to Korea.
Experts say that with tourists moving from package tours to custom-made itineraries both here and abroad, the industry needs to work on providing a wide range of choices for them at reasonable prices. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, in the rest of the day's news, UN Secretary-General Ban Kimoon has admitted that tensions on the Korean peninsula have never been higher than they are now. The UN chief is urging the Security Council to take swift and stern actions against North Korea in the wake of its recent nuclear and missile provocations. Kim Min-ji has the details.
The UN chief called for unity in the Security Council and urgent action to prevent further provocations by North Korea. Speaking at a press conference at the UN headquarters in New York, Secretary-General Ban Kimoon said the tensions on the Korean peninsula are unprecedented.
Level of tension on the Korean peninsula has gone much higher. Never in the past I have ever seen such kind of heightened tension on the Korean peninsula.
North Korea conducted its 5th nuclear test last week and has already fired more than 20 ballistic missiles this year alone. Ban called on the Security Council to draw up strong sanctions and send a stern message to Pyongyang that their nuclear and missile tests must stop. He added that the U.S., along with other members of the Security Council, are discussing stronger measures. Russia has also signaled that it would support UN sanctions.
The U.S. ambassador has already begun on the detailed elements of Security Council resolution with key Security Council member states, including particularly China.
Ban, who has roughly 3 months left before his term ends, says he will do his best during his time in office to ease tensions and bring stability on the Korean peninsula, as well as to get Pyongyang to join the international community. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
The chief nuclear envoys of South Korea and Japan have been discussing new countermeasures against North Korea in light of the regime's fifth nuclear test. In a phone conversation on Thursday, Kim Hong-gyun, Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, and his Japanese counterpart stressed the need to swiftly adopt new UN sanctions. The UN Security Council has already condemned the North's latest provocations. Now, China says it welcomes new sanctions but opposes any sanctions by individual countries. That's according to the Chinese Foreign Ministry statement on a phone conversation between Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida. Minister Wang argued that sanctions by individual countries may do more harm than good, likely referring to the US and Japan, who have indicated they may impose independent sanctions on Pyongyang. Now, in the race for the White House, Hillary Clinton has resumed campaigning after a bout of pneumonia forced her to lay low for a while. With around 50 days to go before the November 8th election, Clinton returned to the campaign trail in North Carolina, where she attacked Donald Trump's policies. It was her first event since collapsing at a 9/11 memorial event on Sunday, fueling speculation about her health. She'd spent the last few days resting at home. Earlier in the day, her Republican rival took a swipe at Clinton's stamina at a rival in Ohio, questioning whether she could give a speech for an hour in a hot arena. Trump also released details of a recent physical examination on a US TV show a day after Clinton's doctor said she was well enough to run for president. Trump's campaign said the physical results showed the 70-year-old has normal cholesterol and normal blood pressure. It said the report shows Trump has the stamina to endure the rigors of being president of the United States. Typhoon Meranti has made landfall in southeastern China after battering Taiwan. The super typhoon arrived near Xiaomun in the early hours of Thursday, with China's Xinhua news agency calling it the most powerful storm to hit the province since record-keeping began 67 years ago. Its winds of 170 kilometers per hour uprooted trees and street signs, while heavy rains flooded the streets. Most of that area, which is home to some 3.5 million people, has lost power, and train services in the region have been severely disrupted. At least one person was killed in southern Taiwan when the typhoon passed through on Wednesday. The President of the European Commission has given his annual State of the Union address to the European Parliament, trying to rally support for the EU in the face of Britain's recent vote to leave.
Our friends and partners worldwide, who all deeply regret Brexit, are wondering whether Brexit is the beginning of the breakdown and the disintegration process of the EU. Allow me to state here today that we respect and at the same time regret the UK's decision, but the EU as such is not at risk.
Juncker did highlight the UK referendum as a warning that the EU is fighting for survival against rising nationalism. The Commission chief urged European leaders to pull together and not chase votes by echoing their Eurosceptic opponents, but rather regain the trust of their citizens. Well, that's all we have for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next scheduled bulletin is coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.